Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics, Dio here. Today we have a 2012 Mercedes Sprinter with a 3.0 liter. The customer complaint on this vehicle is that the check engine light remains on while the engine is running. The customer also stated that the vehicle drives well on level ground. When it is driving on a level pavement, the vehicle seems to drive fine. But when it's going up a hill, the vehicle loses power tremendously. It barely goes over 30 miles an hour while you're climbing a hill. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go inside the vehicle and confirm the customer's complaint. We're going to start the engine and see if the check engine light will remain on. I test drove this vehicle before I brought it in the shop. I confirmed the customer's complaint. The vehicle is definitely losing power. It seems to be driving fine on level ground, but if you go up a hill, it loses power big time. So now that we know that, and we also know that the check engine light is remaining on while the engine is running, I'm going to take you guys with me inside the vehicle so that we can see the check engine light that's remaining on. After we confirm that the check engine light is remaining on while the engine is running, then we're going to connect the scan tool to the vehicle to see what kind of trouble codes we have in memory. So now let's go inside the van and confirm the customer's complaint. Alright, so we're gonna start the engine so that we can confirm the customer's complaint. So right there, as you can see, the engine is running and the check engine light remained on. So right there, customer's complaint confirmed. So I'm going to turn off the engine and connect the scan tool to the vehicle so we can see what kind of trouble codes we have in memory. So I'll get the scan tool connected and then I'll bring you guys back up. We have 6 trouble codes in the engine computer, and we have 1 trouble code in the electronic transmission control module, and we have 4 trouble codes in the electronic stability program. So in this video we're just gonna focus on the trouble codes that are inside the engine control module. So we're gonna click on this arrow over here. So let's go to codes. Here are the 6 trouble codes that we have in the engine control module. The first trouble code is 13AF00, stored and current. So it means this code is stored and it's also current. So this code is active right now as we're speaking. And it says diesel particulate filter. The soot content of the particulate filter is too high for regeneration. So this is really self-explanatory. This means there's a lot of soot inside the diesel particulate filter, okay? And this will explain the reason why this vehicle is losing power. Because if you have excessive soot inside the DPF, that's gonna act as a restriction in the exhaust system. So if the exhaust is restricted, the vehicle is gonna lose power, right? So this over here is what's causing the vehicle to lose power. And then the other trouble code is 131E00, and it says not defined event. Fuel tank level is too low. So I mean, there's enough fuel in the vehicle. I don't know why it's saying too low, but we're gonna deal with these trouble codes one at a time, but I'm gonna focus on this first trouble code first, because since this is a current one, and we also have some camshaft trouble codes. So this 108800, so this one over here, and it says signal from component B6/24 camshaft sensor is faulty. So you know, we will most likely check these cam sensors afterwards, but we're gonna focus on this first trouble code first. Okay, this trouble code that's saying that there's a lot of soot inside the DPF. And when you have a lot of soot inside the DPF, the computer is going to see that excess soot inside the DPF. Then the computer will not enable the regeneration. So the regeneration process is going to be disabled, because when the vehicle is being driven, especially while you're driving at highway, the computer does the regeneration itself. But if it sees a lot of soot in the DPF, it's not going to do that. And if the regeneration process is not occurring, the soot is going to keep accumulating and then the vehicle will start losing power eventually. So what we need to do right now is I want to look at some live data. I want to look at all the data around the DPF, okay? So I want to look at the soot level content data page. I want to look at the temperature sensor data page around the DPF and all that good stuff. So let's go to live data. Again, we are addressing this trouble code first, and then we will address these trouble codes later. I guess these cam sensor faults can also cause the engine to lose power, but since we have this DPF trouble code first, I mean this code that's saying that there's a lot of soot inside the DPF, so I'm gonna address this code first before we address these ones. So let's go to live data. Actually, before we go to live data, I want to erase all these trouble codes and see which trouble code comes back first. Let's erase this and see which one is going to come back. Alright, so right there, as you can see, this 13AF00 trouble code came right up. So we're going to have to address this trouble code first. Even when we erase it, let's erase it one more time. When we erase it, it comes back up. Let's see if it's going to be erased. Alright, so right there, the same trouble code is coming back up, 13AF00. So as long as we have this trouble code in memory, the regeneration process is now going to take place. So let's go to live data and let's look at the data of all the sensors around the DPF, because we can have a pressure differential sensor that's faulty, and if you have a faulty pressure differential sensor, it can also fool the computer thinking that there is a restriction in the DPF or there's a lot of soot in the DPF. So let's go to diesel particulate filter. So let's go to check diesel particulate filter. So these PIDs over here are all the PIDs that are relevant for the diesel particulate filter. So it's a pretty long list. We're going to customize this list. Soot content of diesel particulate filter. So we're going to look at this. Ash content of diesel particulate filter. Yes. I don't want to look at engine speed. Pressure differential in diesel particulate filter. Yes. Exhaust gas temperature upstream. Yeah. Exhaust gas temperature upstream. Upstream of diesel particulate filter. Exhaust bag pressure. Yeah. So that's all. So these are the only PIDs that I want to look at. And right there on the soot content of the diesel particulate filter, we are reading 0.01. I think this is pound. Okay. And then on the hash content of the diesel particulate filter, we are reading 0.01 pound. And the pressure difference in diesel particulate filter, we are reading 0.015 psi. Alright, so now I'm going to start the engine and then we will watch the data. Right now at idle, on the soot content, we are still reading 0.02, and then the max here is 0.06. And on the hash content of the diesel particulate filter, we are reading 0.01. And it looks like the max is 0.03. Okay, so the pressure difference in diesel particulate filter is 0.131 psi. So the pressure difference over here is the difference between the inlet of the DPF and the outlet of the DPF. So pressure differential sensor monitors the pressure change between the inlet of the DPF and the outlet of the DPF. And when we give it gas, this pressure increases. Okay, So we have about 1.60 at idle. So I want you guys to focus on these two data PIDs over here, because after getting rid of all the soot inside the diesel particulate filter, these three data PIDs here should change, especially this third one, this pressure difference in diesel particulate filter data PID. So our temperature sensors are doing pretty well, so I don't think we have a defective temperature sensor. So the exhaust gas temperature sensor upstream of the turbo is giving us a temperature of 289 degrees Fahrenheit, and the exhaust gas temperature of the diesel particulate filter is 251 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's good. This is getting pretty hot. I wish we had a PID for the downstream of the DPF, so the PID for the temperature sensor of the downstream of the DPF. I don't know if the downstream of the DPF has a temperature sensor there. I mean, we could have compared the two data PIDs from the temperature sensors. I mean, the upstream and the downstream of the DPF. Usually when you have a restricted DPF, the upstream of the DPF is going to be way hotter than the downstream of the DPF, and that's usually an indication of a defective DPF or a defective sensor. Alright, so I want you guys to remember these three data PIDs, especially this third one. Okay, this pressure difference in diesel particulate filter. Right now at idle we're reading 0.174 psi. Okay, so since we have this trouble code in memory, let's go back to trouble codes. This trouble code 13AF00, and this code is current. I'm going to turn off the engine, and I'm going to bring you guys with me under the vehicle so we can use a diesel particulate filter cleaner. So I have this chemical here from Liquid Moly that I like to use. I'm gonna use that to clean the DPF. We're gonna spray it inside the DPF so it can clean the soot. So as you can see right now, when we try to erase this trouble code is gonna come back up. So it's gonna be hard for us to do the regeneration process with this trouble code in memory. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to spray that Liquid Moly diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the diesel particulate filter. After we spray all of it inside the diesel particulate filter, then we will reset the computer. We're gonna have to reset the computer to get rid of this trouble code, because as long as this trouble code is in memory, doing the regeneration is gonna be really hard. So let's go under the vehicle. We're gonna spray the diesel particulate filter cleaner in the diesel particulate filter. So you have to spray the cleaner first and then the purge. Once you spray it, then you have to reset the ECM. We're gonna go to special functions and reset the ECM, which will get rid of this trouble code, and then the computer will be able to do a regeneration process. So as you're doing the regeneration process, that fluid is gonna help clean all the soot inside the diesel particulate filter. And after we do that, we're gonna take this vehicle for a test drive and see if it's gonna drive better, and then we'll see if our data will look better. So let's go under the vehicle and spray the diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the diesel particulate filter. Alright guys, so we are here under the vehicle, and this is our diesel particulate filter. Up there is the upstream diesel particulate filter temperature sensor, and over here is the inlet diesel particulate filter tube. So this tube goes to the pressure differential sensor, and this tube over here goes down to the outlet of the diesel particulate filter. So remember, on the scan tool we only had one PID for the diesel particulate filter temperature sensor for the upstream one. So because there's only one temperature sensor on the diesel particulate filter, there isn't a temperature sensor downstream of the diesel particulate filter. So that's why we didn't have the data PID for it. If we had a sensor over here, we would have had a data PID for the downstream DPF, and we could have compared both of them. So since we don't have that, that's okay. We're still gonna spray that diesel particulate filter cleaner in the diesel particulate filter. So we have to undo that tube so we can spray it in the particulate filter. All right, so down over here, we have another tube. So this tube over here is on the outlet of the diesel particulate filter. And this tube also goes to the pressure differential sensor. So the pressure differential sensor monitors the pressure between the outlet tube and the inlet tube to know if there's a restriction in the DPF. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna undo that tube over there so we can spray the diesel particulate filter cleaner in the DPF. So I'm gonna grab a wrench so we can undo that tube. So I always like to remove the one of the pressure tubes, but you can also remove the temperature sensor if you want to. So I'm gonna remove that pressure tube, and then we will spray the diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the DPF. All right, so right there. So as you can see, we have an opening here. So I will show you the diesel particulate filter cleaner that we're gonna spray inside the DPF. Here's what we're gonna use to clean the diesel particulate filter. So we're gonna use this liquid moly diesel particulate filter cleaner. So we're gonna spray this inside the diesel particulate filter, and then we will spray the purge. So right there, as you can see, it says diesel particulate filter purge. So then we will spray this purge, and then we're gonna put the pressure tube back on the DPF, and then we're gonna take the vehicle outside and initiate the regeneration process. So basically, with this particulate filter cleaner and the purge inside the DPF, what that does is it cleans all the soot inside the diesel particulate filter. So after spraying these two inside the diesel particulate filter, you have to initiate the regeneration process, or you have to just clear the trouble code and take the vehicle for a test drive, ideally driving it on the highway to burn this fluid, because this fluid is going to burn inside the diesel particulate filter, which is going to eventually clean all the soot out of the diesel particulate filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this pressure tank. So we're going to put this diesel particulate filter cleaner in this pressure tank, and then we will spray the cleaner inside the diesel particulate filter using this pressure tank. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this fitting first. So this tube is going to go inside the hole right there. So this is going to go where the tube goes, so that opening of the tube, so it's going to go right in there. So this thing over here has a little hole. I don't know if you can see. So there's a hole over there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's where the cleaner is gonna come out of. So right there, you see this hole? Okay, so you have to make sure that this hole is facing the DPF before you start spraying it. You don't want to spray it upward towards the turbo. You want to spray it downward towards the DPF. Okay, so that's gonna go over there. Okay, so we're gonna keep that there, and then this blue line is gonna be connected. So this end of the blue line is gonna get connected to this pressure tank. So before we do that, let's put the diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the pressure tank first. Alright, so now we're gonna connect this to the pressure tank so we can spray this diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the DPF. Alright, so now we're gonna spray this diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the DPF. Alright, so I'm done spraying the diesel particulate filter cleaner inside the DPF. So now I'm gonna put the purge in the pressure tank. So we're gonna undo this. Alright, so I'm done spraying the diesel particulate filter cleaner and the purge inside the DPF. So now we're done using this tool. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. So now we're gonna reconnect the pressure tube so we can lower the vehicle. Alright, so we're gonna reconnect this pressure tube over here. Alright, so right there, I got the pressure tube reconnected. So now we're gonna use a wrench and tighten the fitting. So we're gonna tighten this nut. Alright, so that tube is tightened. So now let's lower the vehicle. Alright guys, we are back in the vehicle. So now we're gonna do the regeneration process. Since we are inside the shop, we can't do the regeneration process here. So I'm gonna drive the van outside so we can do the regeneration process. So this will help the diesel particulate filter cleaner clean all the soot out of the diesel particulate filter. So now let's drive this vehicle outside. So let's back out of the shop. Alright, so we're outside the shop. I'm gonna turn off the engine. We're gonna leave the key in the on position. So I'm gonna bring up the scan tool. So as you can see, this trouble code is still right here. So let's try to erase it and see what happens. I believe it will come back. So right there, as you can see, this trouble code comes back. So it's going to be hard for us to do the regeneration process with this code in memory, because once we initiate the regeneration process, the computer might cut it off. So I'm going to try to force the regeneration process and see what happens. So let's try it first. Let's go to special functions. No, actually, let's go to control unit adaptations. Let's go to diesel particulate filter. So we're gonna do a regeneration process, regeneration of diesel particulate filter. So this is what we're gonna do. Let's click OK. Now we're gonna start the engine. So this is just telling us all the rules before we initiate the regeneration process. So let's click OK. So the engine coolant temperature sensor is below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have to let the vehicle idle until it reaches operating temperature before we initiate the regeneration process. So I'm gonna let the vehicle idle and then I'll bring you guys back up so that we can initiate the regeneration process. Alright guys, we're back here at the scan tool. The vehicle has reached operating temperature. I let it idle for over 10 minutes. So now let's do the regeneration process. So let's go to control units adaptations. So we're gonna go to diesel particulate filter. Let's do regeneration of diesel particulate filter. So let's click on that. Let's click OK. Fault, the test could not be started because the exhaust gas temperature is not 200 degrees Celsius. Press OK to continue. Alright, so the adaptation data have been reset. So now we're gonna take this vehicle for a test drive. So let's drive this vehicle first and see how it drives. Take it on a test drive first and get the DPF really hot. So now let's take it for a test drive. Alright guys, so we're doing a driving regeneration process. So I'm gonna show you the scan tool and what it says on the scan tool. So as I'm driving, here is what it says on the scan tool. I hope you can see right there. So we're gonna keep driving. We will drive this for about 15 minutes and then I'll bring you guys back up and see what happens. The vehicle drives well. The vehicle is no longer losing power. So I believe the diesel particulate filter cleaner has cleaned all the soot out of the diesel particulate filter. The vehicle has a lot of power, so it feels really good. Yeah, so I'm going up these little hills over here and the vehicle is really pulling. So that's good. The vehicle has power, so I'm going to drive back to the shop. Once I get back to the shop, I will bring you guys back up so that we can rescan the engine computer to see if the trouble code about the high soot content in the DPF will no longer be there. So if that trouble code is no longer there, then I will know for sure that this vehicle is fixed. So I'm gonna turn off the camera. I will drive back to the shop. I'll bring you guys back up once we get to the shop. So see you guys at the shop. Alright guys, so we're back here at the shop. We are done driving. So let's click next. Alright, so we're gonna back out. So let's go back to trouble code and see if that trouble code about the soot content in the diesel particulate filter will no longer be there. As you can see, we no longer have any trouble codes in the engine computer. So remember before, when we were erasing that trouble code, the trouble code was coming back up, and as you can see, the trouble code is no longer there. So the regeneration just worked. Okay, so right there, the engine is running, the check engine light went off, so that's good. What I want to do is I want to bring up the scan tool again, and let's go to live data. Let's look at the data that we were looking at earlier. So let's go to diesel particulate filter. It's good to check diesel particulate filter. So let's select the soot content, hash content of diesel particulate filter. Let's select the pressure difference in diesel particulate filter. So that's all. Let's view this list. So right over here, guys, can you tell the difference on the soot content? On the soot content of the diesel particulate filter, we have 00 now. And on the hash content of the diesel particulate filter, we have 00 as well. So remember before we had numbers here, I don't remember exactly, I think it was 0.03, I believe. So look at our temperature sensors. The exhaust gas temperature sensor upstream of turbo, the exhaust gas temperature sensor upstream of diesel particulate filter. So this tells me that the diesel particulate filter cleaner that we used has worked. Okay, so now that we have 00 here, this diesel particulate filter cleaner has worked. I mean, this liquid moly diesel particulate filter cleaner works. So I feel comfortable giving this back to the customer, knowing that this trouble code is no longer coming back. So right there, we don't have any trouble codes. Actually, let me turn off the engine. So let's turn the key back on. So let's do a full system scan. I'm gonna do a full system scan just once again to see what else we have in the other control modules. At this point, I think we're done. I mean, I'm just double checking, but we're done. Knowing that this trouble code is not coming back, the trouble code that said something about too much soot in the diesel particulate filter. So this tells me that we're good. And I'm gonna notify the customer about the crank sensor codes that we had. So I'll let the customer know and tell him that if the check engine light comes back on, he should bring the vehicle back so we can rescan it and address the cam sensor codes. But since the cam sensor codes didn't come back, I mean, I drove the vehicle for over 20 minutes and the check engine light didn't come back on. And right now, as you can see, we don't have any trouble codes in the engine computer. So I will tell the customer if the check engine light comes back, we will address the cam sensor codes. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it right over here. So I'll bring you guys back up once the scan tool is done scanning all the modules. Alright, so the scan tool is done scanning all the control modules. As you can see, the engine computer doesn't have any trouble codes. I mean, I am focusing on the engine computer because the check engine light was on and this vehicle was losing power. So we don't have any trouble codes in the engine computer. Let's click on this arrow one more time. So at this point, I'm just double checking. I know this is good to go, but you know, it doesn't hurt to check and double check yourself before you deliver the vehicle to the customer. So we are inside the engine computer. So let's go to trouble codes. And as you can see, trouble codes are not detected. So we're good to go. I'm gonna get the scan tool out of here. Let's start the engine. So the engine is running, the check engine light went off, so we're good to go. So I'm gonna leave it right over here. Let me turn off the engine. So this vehicle is fixed. This vehicle was losing power big time, and that was caused by too much soot inside the diesel particulate filter. And we used the liquid moly diesel particulate filter cleaner to clean the soot out of the DPF, and that worked. Now this vehicle drives well. So the problem was too much soot inside the diesel particulate filter. I'm gonna leave it right over here. I hope you like this video. If you do like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why, so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Once again, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.